This race right here is the Herbalife Criterium on August 31st of 2021. Let's go ahead and jump right into this guy and we'll see what happens. All right, so today we've got three of my teammates, myself of course, category 3. I've got two other teammates, one who looks like recently has upgraded to category 3 and the other one's still at category 4. Most likely upgrading next year. One of my teammates is totally fresh today, whereas the other one did race the 4-5 race previously and won that race, which is great. Today we do have a number of people from the Cycles d'Oro team, which is the red guys that you see right there, and then as well Trek Benissimo. So our typical friends and rivals in this particular race. And this race was done on a day where there was some pop-up thunderstorms going on around. There was a little bit of threat of rain. Fortunately, it didn't rain during this race. And what was interesting is this stretch that you're seeing right here, right before the turn here, before the finish line, and the finish line itself, there was a pretty rough headwind. Now, there normally is a headwind through the turn before the finish line, but for this race, it was particularly strong. So we'd come around that corner doing maybe 28 miles an hour, and as soon as you'd hit that headwind, unless you really laid down the power, it would pretty much take me down from 28 to about 24 very easily. Here shortly, I go ahead and decide to mount an attack and see who comes with me. Because of the headwind over there, really the best places to attack, in my opinion, is pretty much right through here or at the hill where the start-finish line is. So here you can see I'm rolling my attack and hoping that somebody will come along with me. I'm looking back behind me, seeing who will come, if anybody, and at the moment, nobody's coming. So I'm not able to draw anybody out here, and I do know that the field is really fresh here, so I hit this headwind, and look how much it's slowing me down. I mean, I'm doing 300 and some watts, 23 miles an hour, whereas the same amount of power was getting me, 28 to 29 on other sections of the course. So it's pretty wild, but nobody really comes along at this point. So I'm looking behind me to see if I can get any interest, anything, but nobody's closing the gap yet. And I pull off quite aggressively to the left here to try to get these guys to come around me, and they do. And here's another little attack from one of my teammates. So he brilliantly does a counterattack, and it looks like something might actually form here, right? Once again, very early on in the race, so you never know what's going to happen, but I have dropped my power way down, and to see if we could help let this get away. And there they go. So I'm just going to sit here and not do a lot of power, and Cycles d'Oro finally says, forget this, right? So I go ahead and latch onto his wheel and get my free ride. And I'm gapping the field behind me. Whenever I try to get these, what I call free rides, I always try to make sure I jump really hard on the wheel and not allow anybody to follow me if I can, or if they are going to try and follow me, they've got to put down a huge effort. So, you can see I gap the field quite a bit, and now they're coming back on me. Through the headwind, they finally do catch my teammate. So this teammate you see in front of us, this is the one I'm talking about. He is actually now a category 3. And then my third teammate goes ahead and mounts a third attack here. So, in my opinion, we're really executing well in this race. And he takes off, and they chase him pretty hard. So Cycles d'Oro is pretty much reined in my teammate, took him a few laps, and here now I take my attack. It's my turn to go, so I roll with it right here. Once again, looking back to see who will come with me, and check this out. I have got some takers, and here they come. So I'm excited about this. So the three of us, three main teams of the race, all get into this break. We're starting to leave the field behind. It's me, Cycles Dioro, and right behind him, a little bit difficult to see in the rear camera, but right behind him is one of the Trek Benissimo riders, and I'm excited. I'm like, hey, you know what? We're 11 laps in, not too bad place to be, and hopefully my teammates, the Cycles Dioro and the Benissimo, they're all getting in front and starting to block for us. Because we've got 3 of us here, 3 main teams represented, and this is a great place to be, and this might actually stick. So I'm putting in a huge effort here to try and get us as far away from that group as possible. And I pull off here to let these guys pull some, and we're on. So we get to the hill, and he pulls off, and look what happens. Man! So I am yelling at the Trek rider to do some work, and will not do work. Just simply will not do any work. So I go ahead and pull up here and start to do another pull. And I really can't tell. The Trek guy doesn't look like he's gassed, doesn't look like he's hurting real bad. I don't see him breathing super hard. So I don't know what the game that he's trying to play here is, but I'm like, you know what? We've got enough of a gap. Maybe we can still make this happen. And I go ahead and start pulling again. And unfortunately, I gap a little too much here, and I look back and see that. So I want these guys to be on my wheel. I want them to be able to get a break and get some rest, because it's when it's my turn. I don't want them to be completely smashed by the time it's their turn to do some pulling, right? And I'm hoping these guys will get on my wheel, get a little bit more draft. They're getting there. This is not too bad. So here we are in this headwind. I'm doing 300 and some watts just to do mid-20s. And here I start to pull off again. And as you can see, we've got a good gap now on the rest of the group. They're just now coming around that corner to the hill as we approach the top. So still have a healthy lead. Something can still happen, right? So you can see the Cycles Dioro, he's been working hard, I've been working hard. My heart rate's not too bad, but he puts in a good effort here once again. So you can see how low my power is. And he's pulling off, and here the Trek rider once again just will not work. And we're yelling, we're like, work, man, work. And so I'm yelling at him to do work, and the Trek guy gets, I mean, not the Trek guy, the Cycles Dioro guy is like, man, I'm just going to kill it. So he just crushes it through here, and they gap me. I wasn't expecting that. And so I have to work quite a bit to catch up to them. Now, unfortunately, this move burns the Cycle Dioro rider out a good amount. So he puts in that big dig, and he's just, once I get caught up, he's just, that's it. He didn't drop the Trek rider, and the Trek rider is refusing to do any work. So we're hardly doing any watts now. And this begins essentially the beginning of this little break falling apart. So I have to make a decision here. Am I going to drag this Trek rider around? And does the Cycles Dioro guy have enough to help us out? But this guy just bridged up to us from the group, and they're coming up hard and fast. So I shut it down. I make a decision here. I could have kept going, maybe see what happened, but Trek's not doing anything, so I'm getting on his wheel, and he's trying to wave us off. And I'm like, heck no, man. You're not going to stink and do any work. You know. So it was disappointing. Peloton's coming up on us after our break fell apart, and my teammate attacks, and just like he should, and there he goes. He attacks into the wind, which, man, that's rough. But, you know, that's just where it fell out. So there he goes. My other teammate's behind him, and I'm back here. Don't really need much of a break, but they've got things covered. And here we go. Unfortunately, his attack just wasn't enough to at least from this perspective, it wasn't enough to create a gap. The group is all together now. We're at the halfway point. We've caught my teammate, and the whole field has kind of slowed down a little bit. I think after the three of us have been attacking, people are getting a little worn out. I'm moving up here to the front, kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. My heart rate's low. I'm primed here. I'm ready for the next series of attacks if they don't happen soon. And kind of looking around, trying to feel things out. And this is interesting what happens. Now, you can't see it too well, but one of my teammates is going for the attack right about here. So I'm moving up front to start blocking for him, and there he goes off to the left of the screen. And he is gone. Now, he attacked really hard. Once again, that's one of those spots that I say is a great place to attack for this course. It's either right through there, definitely not through this headwind, and up the hill at the start-finish, which today also has a headwind. So now I'm up front, and I'm not doing much work here. I'm kind of just tempo rolling this. Everybody else just doesn't seem to be motivated to go get him. None of the teams, anything. So he gets a sizable lead right here. And as you see, I'm doing 18 miles an hour through here. I mean, I am not going hard at all. So they are just happy to sit there. And that's it. I mean, 17 miles an hour, probably some of the slowest speeds that I did the entire race. 16 miles an hour. And nobody's coming around. So they are happy to let him go, and I am happy to stay here in the front. And if somebody finally wants to get the motivation to come around, they can. And that's it. So that break, he ends up being the winning break. He goes solo for the entire rest of the race and does get the first place. So that was a success right there. So once again, attack after attack after attack, and finally you can see my other teammate is right up in the front next to me, and we're both riding side by side having a conversation, probably talking about what we had for breakfast, or how's your girlfriend doing, or what's the weather like today, or did you see the game last weekend, whatever, man. So all right, so here we go. They're getting sick of us now, and you got some people starting to go, but we're happy to let this guy dangle. We're not too motivated. And there you go. So there's the winning break, and we're happy to let our teammate do it. And we'll be happy to sit up front and cruise along at a tempo pace for the rest of the time. Go in circles, and last 3 laps, we've been kind of just chilling out here, 20, 22 miles an hour. Not much is going on. Now, one of the funny dynamics about this is Cycles d'Oro thought they had a guy up the road, and maybe they did. Here we have a little attack here, so I go ahead and get on his wheel, but maybe they did, maybe they didn't. If they did, I had completely missed it at this point and thought that my team had the only person up the road, but if they did have somebody up the road, they dropped out or fell back into the group, or something happened because my teammate got the first place. So here we have a little bit of an effort by this guy, and he strings us out a little bit, but not enough to catch up to anybody that's up the road. Here's just another funny clip I wanted to highlight real quick. So Inland Construction made an attack, got reeled back in, and a few laps ago he rested up, and here he goes again. So I sort of half-heartedly try to jump on his wheel, and I'm like, you know what, every time he does this, he rolls up the road about a few hundred yards, then just kind of peters out. So I let it fly. Nobody else is going to go after it either. And exactly that happens. And so this is something I used to do quite a bit in the 4.5s and later in the 3.4s until I finally started understanding some of this so-called chess on wheels. And unless you've got like that huge motor, that TT engine, to be able to break away and stay away, those type of attacks are Unfortunately, they're fun, but unfortunately, they just don't really amount to a whole lot. And we're clipping along pretty good here, but in no short time, we do catch right back up to him. Here we are, down to almost the final lap, and I said this in previous videos. Watch the Trek team. So look at this. We've got one lap to go, and they're already getting lined up. Right now, the three of them. They've got one guy on their team that's a great sprinter, and they get everything lined up, ready to go. And I'm actually in a pretty good spot right here. I like where I am. And I need to keep it, so they start bringing in some power here, and I try to move up a little bit and get out. I don't want to be entirely in front, but I do want to be in a position where I can be in the draft to set up for the sprint. And so we have inland construction now. If you notice right here, I go way wide, and what happened was the Trek rider right here in front of me brushed his tire against the curb and flipped me out, and I thought I was going to get wrecked. So now I'm in a horrible position, and I am trying with everything I can to get back in the line here, and I'm done. Like, these guys are going hard, and I've got to catch back on. So any chances for me getting in the sprint is going to be tough. So I start hammering it through here. I'm trying to catch these guys up in the front. Just not able to do it. Got to lay off the power a little bit to come to this corner, and then I just hammer it up here. Once again, my teammates already got the first place from the solo, and here we are on the sprint. And these two guys in front of you take the second and third position, and I have no idea what spot I was in. It was me and several other guys for the 4th, 5th, 6th place, and the results still haven't been turned in yet because it was so close. But that was a race. We got somebody on the podium, so success all around, and we executed well. The sprint could have been a little better, but that's just racing, and that's how it goes. Thanks for watching. See you again next time.